All right. So let's get this one. I think it's an interesting one. What audience size do you recommend for the initial code layer?
So this I've been going back and forth. So I think LinkedIn recommends like at least they say at least 30,000 and I think 30 to like 140,000. That, is entirely different if you're running kind of an ABM playbook and you have a very tight small group. So I do say the two caveats to that is if you're running a smaller group, then you just need to adjust your strategy. You're going to have to pull more of those trust and credibility elements that I would traditionally put in the retargeting for a larger TAM. I'd pull those into cold and just saturate that audience with more of those layers that you want them to see. One of the benefits I found in a larger audience size is that I do think LinkedIn's algorithm is slowly maturing. So the word of wisdom for Facebook is that you start with this broad audience and you trust the algorithm. Like, that was terrible advice for LinkedIn. It might still be terrible advice, but I've been doing my own experimenting, and I feel like it might be getting better. But that might also be because our account has an incredible ton of conversion data for it to work from. So I think that's still probably terrible advice for like most people. So I would say, if it's over 200,000, that's probably too broad. 150,000 is probably pushing. The danger of going too small though is that you run the risk of that group not being active on LinkedIn. So having a bigger audience gives LinkedIn some options of saying who's active, who's not. You can get a better price. If you're targeting a 20,000 person audience, those cost per clicks could be really big, especially if it's like a coveted, high priced audience that's not very active on LinkedIn. So that's the drawback of that.
Yeah, I had like while we were talking about the ABM approach and things like in the ABM, we would already suppose that the accounts you selected them based on some intent data or engagement, etc. So you could even almost treat them as more warm or
Retargeting.
retargeting,
Yeah.
while the pure cold would be to generate that intent and engagement when it would make more sense. And then another thing that I've heard somebody said was that they would widen the accounts, but widen the target smaller number of accounts, but widen the people in there. So
Mm.
the whole marketing team, for example, instead of just the CMO and the VP of marketing. Just what
Actually,
I heard of it, I tried that.
I actually really like that idea because it's usually like I feel like if instead of targeting that one decision maker, like that makes sense with when you're cold calling or cold emailing, you want to, you don't want to waste time like talking to everyone in the company. But with digital marketing, yeah, you could expand it. And if there's a couple of people in that company, like when that person eventually is convinced and wants to, try you out, if they bring that conversation into the room and there's other people in that room who are familiar with the brand and are on board, like, yeah, that could drop some walls and get you across that finish line a lot faster. So I really do like that idea.
I think another thing, LinkedIn is a social network. So if you are connected and I'm engaging with somebody, you're likely to see that. So there's that as well to kind of spread the message inside of the buying committee. All right.